Yeah.
Oh wait.
Which I'm not doing.
Yeah.
As a college
student. No, I'm allowed to gamble now. Yeah, you are too.
I'm allowed to gamble.
Oh yeah, y'all getting active for sure. That shit sounds great.
Okay, wait. I want to bring back to transferring to grad school because we were about to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because y'all both had a very specific, interesting situation, and then you graduated from Dartmouth with the eligibility, and then did a grad transfer year at
Sacred Heart.
But yeah, just lay out the whole story.
Yeah. So I guess so. I was in my last term, right?
Yeah.
I was in my last term of undergrad, and because we were on a trimester system, I took an extra summer and an extra winter. I pretty much was able to graduate two terms early, but that kind of messed me up in terms of wanting to play at Dartmouth. So if I had those extra terms, all you got to do is take a term off, come back in the fall.
Right.
But the only option was finishing classes, starting back a year later. Yeah. But that wasn't gonna happen, so I ended up, finishing out the term, and going back into the recruiting process. Figuring out where am I gonna go, who wants me, who wants a receiver, and especially a receiver only has 1 year of eligibility. So I pretty much was going all over the place. I was sending my film, across the country just like I did when I was in high school, and it was, of course, Sacred Heart. They kind of got on me early because they knew, oh, you're from Dartmouth, we play you.
Yeah.
Let's get some.
So when you said they got on you, did they reach out to you first, or you reach out to them?
No, because there's no way for them to know, so I had to
the portal.
Yeah, there was a
so you saying after they sent it out, like it was serious,
they got
very serious.
Because I looked at I pretty much sent all FCS schools.
Yeah.
I sent my stuff.
I
sent them all FCS.
Let them know that's what you're looking for.
A couple of FBS schools,
right.
But I understood with the FBS, it was like I had chances to walk on.
Yeah.
And I could walk on, play a year, get that experience, but
and the degree,
And I mean there were some great programs grad programs, because I was thinking I was going to do my MBA.
Yeah.
That was what I wanted to do. So there were plenty of programs to go, but I wanted to actually play. A year.
Yeah. So for the recruiting, for when you're sending out your film this round versus the first round in high school, how did you approach it differently in terms of, because you're still sending out film from what you did, but now that you've been in college and clearly showed that you could ball out in college, it's not as much of a question, and they're not really taking a risk. So it's more of you offering them an asset, I guess, that 1 year little weapon you said.
And and essentially what I did was try to find programs that had a lot of seniors that were leaving. A lot of seniors, a lot of even some juniors who were didn't play a lot. To essentially get that, someone with experience in a senior role. So it was it was a matter of hey, I'm a senior receiver. I have X amount of years of experience. Here's my film. This is what I can do. Is there an opportunity for me to play? Not just get a walk-on spot and get the experience and just kind of give people that oh, you have some experience, but you're not going to see the field.
Yeah, because and that's something that you cared about. Maybe other people didn't, but so you factored in the fact that you wanted to play. So you go to a school you actually play, and you wanted to actually get a good degree from a good school.
Right.
That's important. And did the location factor in it all? Kind of all three, or you?
Nah, I was all over the place. I was sending my stuff out to even California. I was looking at Cal Poly. I was looking down in Texas, up in Minnesota. It was all over the place. I didn't really care about a location. It was just a matter of, who had the open position, who was actually looking for receivers that wasn't already filled in, the freshmen that were upcoming, and they already had their amount.
So, maybe a program that's building, in a rebuilding year.
Essentially where they were losing a lot of, great receivers. So I took that opportunity, and I also was more for me because an Achilles injury sucks. You have to essentially rebuild that calf and that explosion. And so essentially I wanted to get myself almost hey, you're not you are capable of overcoming things.
Getting back.
And that was my serious that was my most serious injury even in high school and college playing football. So I want to just have you go through all this rehab and go back on the field. Can you still run routes? Can you still do this?
Right.
And that's what I wanted for myself.
I
just wanted to prove myself you can overcome something this.
Injury wasn't
that's huge.
Defeat you.
And come back and actually play. And that was like the first thing that I wanted, because I knew like, okay, if I walk on at some place, like, all right, well, I can, practice, right? I can go out and practice and run around, but the chances of me seeing the field, you might not be, because I'm being realistic, like, if I go to big time schools, like, there are people out there who are probably better than me. They have two working. Yeah, they didn't tell their Achilles. For a coach, they're looking at that like, am I willing to risk that? A wide receiver spot, and of course, scholarship money, because now that's an thing that I was able to get access to that you don't get in the Ivy League.
Right.
So it was definitely something I had to.
That's humbling too. Like for you knowing how good of an athlete you are and having this injury, and like the idea that these coaches could look at you as just like an injury and like a lame, he's done, he's wrapped up, that's inspiration. Like that's the spark to to prove it. And
you kind of have to look at it for what is your why. Like we were talking about before, what is your why? Like why I don't have to go back to school or play football another year. I already have my undergrad. I was good.
And you weren't doing it to go to the league specifically.
No, I had that vision of going to the league beforehand, but then like that injury did kind of flip a switch. Like, hey, do you really want to do this?
Right. Yeah.
Is this your why? Like, what is your why for wanting to go to the NFL?
Right.
And if that is like, are you willing to put the work in?
Right.
And I was all right. Well, you know what? The only way that I could make that happen was to what? I have to play another year. I can't
exactly.
Tear my Achilles, go through the whole rehab process that actually went through the whole your pro day, like all that was out the window. That was not happening for me. So the only way that I could even make that happen was, well, you have to take this next step. You have to go to grad school and you have to play. And so I had to figure out what was my why.
And it's crazy. It's dope that you phrase it as that I had to do it, because it is so easy, and it would have been so easy to just not take the injury as God said I'm done playing football. I'm injured now. I shouldn't do this. This could be bad. And that's such an easy way to look at it, and just be and you can sit back and people aren't gonna fault you for a injury. I'm playing football now. It's done. Now my time is done. Just because something said it was. And you could fall back on that and just live a nice life and go get a nice job and do that.
Right.
Or you could go play another year, prove that yourself that you could do that, and then you go get that job right after. It's not going anywhere, but it is that little bit of a chance, that little bit of a different thing.
Yeah. And I thought about the NFL too, after the fact too. Once I got done with grad school, I was like, all right, well, what do I need to do next? And that's when I also came to the realization, all right, well, are you capable? Because I was still it wasn't after the Achilles, I was the rehab and everything, I was good to go. There were things that my body was rehab, you're really focused on one part of your body, and the other part of your body is kind of maybe you may be familiar when you were going through your elbow injury. I don't know, but you kind of if you don't do it right, it can kind of mess things up. Down the road. Overcompensate. And that's something that I was just trying to realize, hey, are you willing to put your body through that again?
Right.
And for me at the time, I couldn't find a why. I couldn't find a why for myself. Why do you want to? Yes, it'd be great to do that, but why?
It would be great to in other people's eyes.
But why for you?
But it wasn't.
You
realized that it wasn't great in your eyes.
For me, I had to actually come to realization I wasn't having fun with it anymore.
Right.
I was always a competitive person, but I couldn't let that be the only reason why I wanted to do that, because taking that next step and going to just getting from high school to college is ridiculous feat. That right there for all of us, you understand, that's a big step.
But we're not satisfied with that.
But not satisfied with that. And then you want to go to, but that's an even harder step.
Right. Yeah.
But so you have to understand